Authorities at the Ghana Institute of Journalism have agreed that students who were barred from writing their exams on Sunday are given the opportunity to do so. Meanwhile, all those who owe fees will be allowed up until Wednesday to get onto the student portal to fix the challenges with their payment. The decision was arrived at after a meeting between the SRC and the university's management. Earlier in the day, the rector of the institute, Professor Kwamina Kwanza Edu, noted the students' refusal to pay their fees after completion compelled school authorities to enforce an already existing regulation on payment of fees. He spoke to Maxwell Agbagba.
There are people who have their certificates lying around. There are students who wrote an undertaking last semester, not last year, just last semester, who are still students here, who wrote an undertaking and said, we will pay, and some have gone, who did not pay. So it is very true, because he's only made good his debt. So there are a lot of them in the system like that. Meanwhile, we have to run the place. We have to make arrangements for exam booklets. We have to pay invigilators. We have to pay our bills, electricity, everything. All of that comes from what government calls academic facility user fees. If they don't pay, or after they have done this, if they go and they don't pay, of what use is the certificate to us? Okay. We need those monies to run the place.
An exam that was supposed to take place yesterday was cancelled.
Yes.
I want to know the way forward, and then even as we hear there's a management meeting today, maybe you want to tell us what exactly we discussed at the management meeting and the way forward, basically, for the papers that were cancelled yesterday.
Look, we had to, because of all the agitation and the noise and things going on yesterday, we actually at some point felt that it wouldn't even be fair to the students that were going to write the exam to be writing an exam in that atmosphere. So we felt that the wise thing to do is to postpone those exams. Okay. We will, in time, communicate to the students a new date for writing that exam. We will do that. Okay. Point you're making is this. If you haven't paid your school fees and registered, you are not a student. So you don't get to write an exam. How do we know that you are who you say you are even? You're not a student.
Okay. Okay. There are some who are saying that we haven't issues with this because of student aid and then financial assistance for students who genuinely are unable to pay fees at the tertiary level. I don't know what mechanisms you have put in place here at the Ghana Institute of Journalism to make sure that for students who genuinely are unable to pay, there's a system, to actually help them and also, lessen the burden on them.
Look, most institutions, or a lot of institutions, do have something, and I understand that other institutions. I went to Legon. When I went to Legon, there was nothing like that. I mean, we didn't have to pay academic facility user fees, but we had to pay a few things. It wasn't like that. But I understand they have something in place like that. When I came to GIJ, I found out that there was nothing like that. I asked the question, is there anything there to help students who are in difficulty? And I've spoken to some students who have difficulties. There was one student who found a sponsor, and somebody needed to sign the thing for him. And it was quick time. So it was a parent, but he couldn't go. He was from the Volta region. He couldn't go. He came, saw me. He wrote to me. I said, look, as a rector, I'm happy to. And so he brought the form. I signed and put there, rector, but on behalf of parents. We know that there are students that struggle. And I've asked that question. Management, we are having conversations about just how we can put together some funds that will have a set criteria and mechanisms in place that can help some students. Here is the thing. We cannot help everybody in the same way that as a country, we don't have a social welfare system that helps all the poor people. We cannot have a system that helps, let's say, even 10% of our students pay their fees. No.
We've heard that.
We are working on putting in place mechanisms where we can help some students. But here is the thing. When students accept admission, they don't accept admission on the basis that the institution is going to help them pay their fees. They accept admission on the basis that they are going to pay their fees. That's the payment of their fees is their own arrangement. The institution will work hard to put together something to help some that are desperately in need. But the onus is not on the institution to be thinking about how students are going to pay their fees. The onus is on the students that come here to think about how they are going to pay their fees. And that might include it eventually when we have managed to set up a system where we can help them apply. Because even if when we set up the fund, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. I don't come from an affluent background. I've been through the system. I have struggled through the system. I know what it is like, school fees. So even when we put that thing in place, students are still going to have to apply.
That is Professor Kwamina Kwanza Edu there speaking to Maxwell Agbagba. Well, let's get on the phone line now and speak to the SRC president of the Ghana Institute of Journalism, Emmanuel Kuma. Mr. Kuma, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. But what really is happening? Would you say this is a situation of students abusing the payment system like the professor is trying to establish in his statement there, or is it that you are just dealing with a ridiculously unfavorable payment and registration system at the school?
I have always maintained that it is, these are laws that have been in place, for some time now that ought to have worked over the period of time, but due to one or two reasons and due to the influence of school administration, it's not been applied to the core, and so that is why students are used to the culture of always bending some of these rules. But traditionally or ideally, that is how the system was supposed to work, or is supposed to work.
Mr. Kuma, if you can reposition yourself, I'm having a difficulty. Myself and my viewers are having a difficulty hearing you clearly.
Yeah, I'm saying that. Ideally, these are some rules of the school or how the school functions, and it has been a culture in the past, or things have been very flexible in the past due to the benevolence of school administration, and it is not a norm. It's a culture that students are used to that we are trying to change, and so it is not to suggest that the school authorities are not being sensitive or anything of that sort.
Okay. So we understand that there was a meeting this morning, and at that meeting, there's been some kind of adjustments to allow for those who did not write the exams to write it. How did that? Tell us all the outcomes from that meeting.
We reached some positive resolutions after the meeting this morning. First of all, it was established that, or it was agreed on that students, still had to register online before they are able to take the exams. Students who had not been able to register online will have the opportunity to register as at the afternoon when we close the meeting till Wednesday, 12 a.m. So that they can be able to register and be able to take the exams. Those who have not been able to pay the specific or specified percentages should be able to pay up to those percentages just so they can do so. And so, the students who will not be able to meet this deadline that has been set will have the final opportunity to write these exams next semester when we organize special exams for people who missed the papers that have been written already. Okay.
So as it is now, it sounds to me like it is settled. Am I correct?
Yes, I think that it is okay. We are okay with it. I mean, we are looking at a situation where we can restore calm and everybody will be satisfied, and so it's something that we are all comfortable about.
Mr. Kuma, thank you very much for your time this
You're
afternoon.
Welcome.
Emmanuel Kuma is Student Representative Council's president for the Ghana Institute of Journalism. It looks like the management and the student body have been able to come to a compromise.